Welcome to Sports on Tap from DKPittsburghSports.com. I'm Chris Carter here with Dale Lally, and we are in Mike's Beer Bar here in the North Shore of Pittsburgh, right across the street from PNC Park. Mike's Beer Bar, #1 place to get your beer in Pittsburgh. They've got 50 beers on tap, 80 local, and 500 beers total, Dale.
Just remember, when we're done with this, I'm right and he's wrong.
Oh, get the heck out of here. We'll deal with that. Yeah, Dale always tries to get this in before. He does this because he knows I crush him in any debate. Anyways, before we get started, I just want to go over, there's an upcoming event here at Mike's Beer Bar. It's another dinner and beer pairing. Great events. They have amazing food, great beer. Next Thursday, March 19th, 6:30 p.m. Get here. Tickets are just $30. With this, you get 5 beers. Pine Man IPA, Timber Sale Copper Ale, Misery Whip, New England Double IPA, the Bucking Birch Beer, Shandy Le Bleu, and
we've got the Bucking Birch Beer right here.
We do. We've got a lot of things here, and then and each comes with their own food pairing. So you got some salads, you got some steak, lots of great food here just for $30. Get to Mike's Beer Bar next Thursday, March 19th. 6:30 p.m.
Assuming we're all still here.
Assuming we're all still alive and surviving the coronavirus.
The zombie apocalypse is not taking us all.
Right. Dale, let's talk about, speaking of zombies, we got our first beer is the Helltown.
Yes.
The Lawful Evil Imperial IPA. I love IPAs. 8.6%. It's big, it's bitter, it's a double IPA with delightful, boozy finish. Dale, this sounds like right up your alley.
There's no truth to the rumor that this will cause the zombie apocalypse.
There's no truth to the rumor. Cheers, sir. Why? Why do you have to chug it? You don't have to chug it. He always does this.
Why do you act surprised?
It's smooth.
It's great and smooth. I love it. I like to enjoy it. Anyways.
I enjoyed mine greatly.
You enjoyed it? Yes,
it was nice and cold.
It was nice and cold. It went down.
It went down very smoothly. It was good. Had a nice beat. I could dance to it.
All right. Well, speaking of dancing, of course, nobody's going to be dancing right now. Leading off, we got to talk about coronavirus.
Nice segue.
It's shut right. Thank you. I've been working on them. I have some good segues in this show. Dolly knows. But in all seriousness, it stinks from a sports perspective, but everyone's taking every precaution to try and help contain the situation. But we all know NHL has suspended their play. March Madness has been canceled. That was the one thing I didn't think would happen. I thought that they would, fans stay away, but players, they'll be playing.
Well, I think the Utah Jazz situation.
Yeah, that scared a lot of people.
Wednesday night changed everything when you had a player test positive. That's a game changer. I get all the precautions. I just don't like what it's doing to the sports world in particular, and to our economy secondary. I mean, it's just crushing the economy right now. We're shutting things down, and it may be for.
We don't know how long.
We just don't know how long, and that's the thing that's bothersome to me. Take your regular precautions that you did during flu season.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
also, people, if you don't wash your hands and you're starting to
shame on you.
You need to be always washing your hands. There's some that. Listen, there was a person in the bathroom. They washed their hands for like a second. They were like, and they came out the stall. That was disgusting. I was like, oh gosh. I'm like, how? First of all, that's the bottom line. Take the precautions.
I get more of a washing sitting next to Carter from the spittle flag.
Oh, get the heck out of here. That's the trumpet player in me, man. Sorry about that. But. No, he definitely. I definitely do that a lot, though. I cannot lie. He's not telling a lie there. But in all seriousness, this has impacted a lot. The Penguins don't know when they're going to play now.
We just don't know.
We don't know a lot.
And really, it's not just the sporting world. It's everything. We don't know. Schools, universities themselves shut down. Businesses are shutting down. Right now, Pennsylvania is still open for the large part. That could change.
Yeah, that could very much change.
We'll see what happens with this.
Yeah, the biggest advice we can give, just take care of yourself. Make sure that you're looking after the older people in your family, trying to make sure that they stay safe and don't do things that put yourself out there. Make sure you're taking all the precautions. Hand sanitizer, if you can find some. Wash your hands.
That's the pressure. Just cheer us up with something.
We're going to get there, Dolly, right under the next segment.
We'll be cheered up about, this far in. Our next beer is the 11th hour Millennial versus Boomer IPL.
This is us right here, right now.
Contrary to popular belief, I am not a boomer.
You're close enough.
He's a millennial.
I am a millennial.
Which says a lot.
Whoa.
This
Millennials
beer,
are cool.
with the bright clarity, as you can see,
It is.
and distinct new wave hop aroma from the Galaxy Dry Hop with hints of candied oranges, tropical passion fruit, along with the classic floral and grassy notes of a crisp hop finish.
Sounds good.
Bridging the gap
He's
between
not done.
these two generations to bring peace to the beer drinkers of all ages. Look,
Is there more?
you're going to see how the millennial drinks a beer, and you're going to see how those of us who are
See-
non-millennials drink beer.
First of all, sir, I drink mine with class and dignity. You just throw it back like a barbarian. Who needs to do that? You're trying to prove a point to nobody.
That's smooth.
It is smooth. I like it.
I love that's always it's either smooth or it's okay. That's the review.
Let's see. When we start getting spicy beers, that's going to be interesting. When the summer comes, I expect some spicy beers to be coming. That's
fine.
Yeah, that's good. I like my spicy beers.
We had a jalapeno one last week.
We did, and I loved it. Also, shoot, I forget. I think that was 11th hour. Actually, I think that they invited Hunter and I to go cut the jalapenos for that beer.
No,
Good luck with that.
come on.
Yeah, they did on
Speaking
Twitter.
of the 11th hour,
Yeah, what's the 11th
the
hour?
NFL is
It's
in the 11th hour.
Ah,
For
the
the,
transition right there.
mine was better than his.
Oh, get the heck out of here.
I think he takes it.
The 11th hour of the 2019 season, because it's almost over.
Yeah.
The 2020 season starts next week. It'll be next Wednesday at this time. When we're filming this show, we'll be talking about the new league year,
Finally.
free agency. The franchise tags will have been handed out, and we'll be moving closer to draft. Now, this assumes
That's
that the
what I was
league
going to ask you.
doesn't push that stuff back. I don't see them doing that because there's no real need to at this point. Everything at this point is done over the phone.
Yeah.
The problem that the league has right now is the draft, because this is the time of year when you're doing they have the pro days, the scouts, the coaches are out on all the college campuses, which are now shut down. So that's why we've seen the league in the last 24 hours basically start calling guys back to their facilities, canceling the pro days, canceling the private visits. Teams are going to have to rely on tape.
Yeah, it's going
That's
to
going to be the problem. The teams are. I mean, you won't know necessarily if a guy has an existing injury.
Right.
The ones that's really going to hurt, I think, are the guys who weren't invited to the combine.
Yeah, or the guys who chose not to run at the combine.
Or the guys that didn't.
like
Yeah,
J.K.
right.
Dobbins,
Yes.
who thought, hey, I can just impress people at my pro day. Now, no one's going to see your pro day.
Yeah.
I think
So that's going to be a problem.
that's going to be a problem. Looking at this upcoming period, what's also interesting, I know we're talking about how the virus is impacting everything, but even before that, the NFL was a big story because of the CBA. They've continued to push things back, and now finally we're supposed to get a vote done by Friday or Saturday. Saturday.
We'll know by
supposed to-
Saturday.
We'll finally know if the players voted yes or no. Supposedly, some of the players asked if they could change their vote. It seems wild to me. It seems to me it's going to pass, and that they're going to be able to. And then once that happens, then on Monday, everything will kick off. With that passing, there won't be a transition tag anymore. There'll just be one franchise tag.
But you can use either tag.
You can use either tag.
If it's an uncapped year, or not an uncapped year, the final year of the CBA, you could use both tags.
Okay.
As it is in a regular year, you can either use the transition tag or the franchise tag. We'll also know by Monday. I would assume it comes out as soon as they know what's going to happen here with the CBA. The news about Bud Dupree being franchise tag will come out immediately, and that's going to happen.
So, Dale, you and I have talked about this a little bit on the show, but help people understand, if the CBA passes, what happens to the salary cap?
It's going to go up. It's already gone up. They
Right.
they know that it's going to be at least $200 million. If they get the new CBA in effect, that means they're also going to, when they go to the TV networks and start negotiating those deals, there's going to be more money involved. They're going to add this seventh team to the playoffs. That's going to add to the pool as well. I've heard numbers as high as $230 million for the salary cap. I don't think it's going to go quite that high this year. Next year, potentially,
Right.
yes. But I think it will go up to about $205 to $210 million just by adding those extra two teams to the playoffs, because those are two big games.
Yeah, exactly.
Big money games.
I mean, the Seahawks and the Eagles attracted 37.5 million viewers. That's money. That's cash money, and everybody wants a piece of that. I agree. I think it's going to increase. Not the full 30 million, because that's the range that we keep hearing, 5 to 30. Right in the middle, like around that $15 million range. I think that's fair enough. you get that, but you get that kind of space that helps the Steelers a lot with what they're trying to do with budget.
Well, it lessens what they have to do. If they don't get the new CBA, then suddenly, really are not picking up the option on Vance McDonald's back on the table.
Yeah.
They would rather not go that
Right.
route. But if they do get the new CBA, they probably get to keep him.
Exactly, but you got to see the obvious ones: Chickalo, Foster, Barron's on the table there. Is there any other sneaky cut before we go to the next segment that you think the Steelers might try to slip in there to lower the cap?
Outright cuts, no. But again, I think that there is the possibility or the potential that they don't pick up or don't tender an offer to Mike Hilton.
You have brought that up. I think with Cameron Sutton, it's hard to argue to say, hey, we'll keep this slot corner when we got another one waiting in the wings for much cheaper. We're back here at Mike's Beer Bar here in the North Shore of Pittsburgh. Next beer up, the Log Yard Bucking Birch Cane Style Ale. It's only 5.5%. It's an ale that finishes smooth with a fresh birch flavor. Dale, I'm not 100% what birch flavor is, but I'm about to find out.
You never had birch beer before. You are a kid.
Now I have.
Just like trees? Tree bark?
Tastes like
Smooth?
birch beer.
Oh, okay. That's what you're going to say. Smooth. Like you did.
See, back in the 70s, you could get birch beer in a can.
Get out of here.
But it was for kids. It wasn't actual beer.
Oh, yeah.
It's like root beer.
I'm sorry. I didn't grow up in the 70s, Dale. I grew up in the 90s.
Still haven't grown up.
Still haven't grown up. You're right. I'm still a grown kid. Anyways, let's talk about Bud Dupree because you alluded to the point of his contract. You said before on another show right here on Sports on Tap that the Steelers, it's 100% that they're going to sign Bud Dupree one way or the other.
Bud Dupree will be in a Steelers uniform in
For 2020.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
How likely do you think it is? Okay, so we signed that. How likely do you think it is he'll be on a long-term contract?
That's going to be a little more difficult because if I'm a player right now going into free agency, or if I get an offer right now, and you're seeing this with Dak Prescott as well, I don't want to sign a 4 or 5 year contract extension right now, not knowing what that CBA is going to be.
Right, because there's going to be a lot more money on the table.
There's going to be a lot more money available in future years. So this, if I sign a deal now that's worth, let's just start it's $10 million, just to use a number, and all of a sudden the cap does go up to $230 million in 2021, and $250 million in 2022, and $275 million. That cap is increasing.
Yeah.
You've heard Patrick Mahomes talk about this. How there's a possibility he would rather that be a percentage if he signs a new contract. Hey, my contract should be 10% of our salary cap every year, no matter what. So I don't know.
It's an interesting argument with the way that we know that the league is probably going to increase over the next couple of years.
In 2011, the NFL salary cap was around $100 million. In 2020,
it's doubled.
It's $200 million.
It's doubled.
My guess is that at the very least, by the end of this deal, in 2030, the NFL salary cap will have doubled again to $400 million.
I mean, it's going in that direction.
In fact, it almost has to, because at that point, the minimum player salary is going to be $1 million.
Right. That's going to continue to rise. Also, you have to look at, with them adding an extra game and an extra playoff game as well, do they increase the roster size? So it's not just 53 you're carrying on that.
And that's the other part of that. And the big thing that the league and the NFLPA got into this contract is future gambling revenue. Was added in. The players get a cut of that. We don't know how much money that's going to be, but it's going to be a significant amount of money.
That has to add to it. There's so many variables out there right now, which is why I think this CBA conversation is not simple. As far as who we think, whether it'll approve, that in part may be simple. But when it comes to what benefits should be out there, because the owner said, hey, we're going to increase your rev, you're going to share about 48.5% of the revenue. The players are like, well, what does that mean? Because in 10 years, there might be a whole lot more on the table for us to take from. So I understand, like you said, why people are taking the chance. But the NFL, notice how every time that the vote is extended, the tag deadline is extended.
Well, they have to.
They have to because teams are not budging.
You have to know what rules you're working on.
Right.
You just have to.
That's why Tom Brady's not signed to any team right now. They're going to wait until this is all settled. We know how much money is on every team's budget, and then we'll finally see the dominoes start to fall with who goes where in free agency.
Our next beer is the Cinderlands Arch and Drum Imperial Stout. That's a 10% beer.
Woo!
We saved the best for last, apparently.
Yeah.
It's a huge, deep, roasty aromas of espresso grounds, vanilla, and baker's chocolate. Lusciously thick and creamy on the palate with a maple undercurrent and surprising brightness from the acid-forward Kenyan coffee. Okay. Long, lingering finish that winds back and forth between a sharp roast and a smooth sweetness.
Keep going, keep going.
Sweetness, like Walter Payton.
Now, mind you, I don't drink coffee.
You don't?
I don't drink coffee.
What?
No.
I drink it sparingly, but I do drink it.
Well, we're going to have some coffee here, apparently.
Let's do this. Cheers.
Oh, yeah, that's coffee flavored.
Oh, but that's bold.
It's really
rich.
sweet.
That's rich coffee flavor, though. The sweetness is there, but like, see, he's chugging. He's going to finish. There's a little bit in there, Dale.
No, there's not. That's because it's so creamy and smoothie that it sticks to the bottom.
Anyways.
It was a beer smoothie.
It's very
realistically
smooth.
what it was.
This is actually a very good stout. I'm not a stout guy. Like, if I had to pick my lowest ranking of all styles of beer, stout always goes to the bottom. But that is very smooth. That's what I got to say about Mike's Beer Bar. They've shown me at least 5 or 6 different stouts that I will at least be able to drink and enjoy, like this one from Cinderlands. Anyways.
I can feel the caffeine kicking in.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk about everything in 1.5 speed. But let's talk about the Steelers. They got their 3rd round comp pick. So now we know officially all their draft picks. So they have the 2nd round, they have the 3rd round comp pick. That's the 102nd pick of the draft, 38th in the 3rd round. They now have 2 4th round picks. We've been confirmed that it's the Titans' 4th round pick, which is going to be later than what would have been the Dolphins' 4th round pick.
125 and 135
right
on those picks. But they got 4 of the top 135 picks. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, they got Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, but that is their 1st round draft pick. So as people will naturally do, they're going to trip when the draft day rolls around. If you're a Steelers fan, you're going to be like, oh, we could have had that guy. We could have had that guy. But you got Minkah Fitzpatrick. So calm down.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes. They bettered themselves by adding Minkah Fitzpatrick. They've got him on the cheap for the next 2 seasons. So it was just a deal that made sense to be able to acquire an all-pro player. Their pick would have been 18th this year, and I can guarantee you that there was no safety in this draft who's as good as Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Not even close. Not even close. I agree with you entirely. And in fact, the guy who was supposed to be on that level was Grant Delpit, who's now fallen off from LSU. He came off. Right. He didn't run well, and he had an injury-riddled season. He's going to be falling back. There's some people that think the Steelers should take him with their 2nd round pick, which, first of all, the Steelers need to focus on the offense right now. There are going to be running backs that are available. There are going to be wide receivers that are available. There are quite a few guys that they could take with that 2nd round pick. Dale, I've also had a lot of questions about, with that compensatory pick, is that where they try and go get a tight end? Or
this
is that where
this tight end class stinks.
It stinks, I agree.
It's awful. None of the tight ends that they would take in this year's draft would help this team
right
in
now.
2020.
I mean, even Cole Kmet, who's the guy that everyone says is the number 1. If you look at his blocking tape, and I wrote this in my tight ends article last week, you look at his blocking, it's pathetic. You cannot put that in the NFL and think that he's going to do well. Right. Guys just drove him off the ball, or he looked just not willing.
Level.
Yeah, at the college level. Yeah. You put that in the NFL, he's going to get destroyed.
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, the only guy that I really liked watching him on tape is Devin Asiasi, and even he's a
bigger
project.
Guy. Yeah, right. But he's a bigger guy. He has the size on his side, but he needs to work a lot of other parts to his game.
But, I mean, I'm not taking any of those guys in the 2nd or 3rd round.
No.
I honestly believe the Steelers' first 2 picks will be a running back and a wide receiver, either way.
Yeah.
Whether that's the 2nd or 3rd round. You fill some of those other spots, defensive line.
Yeah.
They're going to need a new nose. Maybe not necessarily to start, but certainly as a depth position. An interior offensive lineman. If they re-sign B.J. Finney, they're still going to need a backup center.
Right.
If they don't re-sign B.J. Finney, they need a backup center.
Right.
So one of these picks in this draft has to be a guy who can play center and an interior lineman that can play center. Not the second round pick.
Not the second round pick, right? Because this guy's not going to play this year,
and he's also not going to score any touchdowns for them, which is what they need.
Right,
guys who score touchdowns.
Like people like Lloyd Cushenberry and Cesar Ruiz, those are off the board because they're going to be gone. Cesar Ruiz, I think, is going in the first round. Lloyd Cushenberry, I like him, but I think he's going to go in the second round. He might even be gone by the time they pick. With how some people are drafting players. You know, you look at guys like Josh Harris, maybe that'll work, because there are a few center guard combo guys that can be drafted in the middle of these rounds. I also think the Steelers should look at, and you brought this up, you know, with Mike Hilton leaving, maybe look at that slot cornerback position.
A smaller corner.
Amik Robertson. That's a lot of who a lot of people are talking about right now. If you can get him with that third comp pick, I don't think that's a bad idea to back up Sutton, because if Sutton goes down, then you're in a lot of trouble.
You need to, and people need to understand that the slot corner plays more than a nose tackle.
Yeah. In today's NFL, it's a completely
slot
different game.
corner is playing 70% of your snaps, so you better have two, because it's a unique position. It's different than playing on the outside, because of the outside corners have the boundary to work with them. Slot corners has no help really. You know, you have to be able to change directions quickly. It's a key position in the NFL.
You've done 2 mock drafts leading into today. You picked, for this first pick in the first draft, Zach Moss, running back out of Utah, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back of LSU. If you had to pick one running back of this current class, say no running back has been drafted by the time the Steelers come up at 49, who are you picking?
Swift.
Okay. All right. I take that back. Exclude Swift. Who are you picking? That's what everyone wants to pick. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think Swift, Dobbins, and Taylor are all going to be off the board by the time the Steelers pick.
Okay, you think Dobbins is too?
But I think Edwards, I think he is. Edwards-Helaire, to me, is a dynamic player. Guy. Again, on my last mock draft, I posted on there the tape of him in the Alabama game.
Oh, my gosh.
Go back and look at the tape on the site. Look at the highlights of that game for him. It's not even the highlights. It's every time he touched the ball, every play that he had in that game. He was the best player in the field that day for LSU against Alabama last season.
His very first carry in that game, there's a defensive end that has him dead to rights in the backfield. As he's getting the ball, Helaire puts a spin move on, and he gets like 9 yards on the run. He was spectacular, and that was the play that I included in my classroom. I have a ton of plays with Edwards-Helaire that I'm like, listen, if they draft him, I'm ready with a whole article right now of highlights and plays where I think he's strong. If they get that guy, the other thing is that not only is he productive in the ground game, he's productive in the receiving game, and he only has 1 fumble in his entire collegiate career compared to Jonathan Taylor, who has like 15. So I lean more to him because I want a guy that makes people miss. If I'm the Steelers, I'm thinking ball security. You look at all the games with James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster and Stephen Ridley over the past 3 years. What guys have fumbled the most? If you look at this guy, he's not going to contribute to that problem, but he also will help you score touchdowns.
And he's vertically challenged, but he's not a small back.
No, yeah.
If you look at the thighs on this guy,
he's strong.
He's not a small back.
He's going to win the foot drive. So those were our favorite picks as far as the draft. Dale, I need you to pick your favorite beer that we just drank tonight.
That's a tough one. I like them all actually tonight. I would probably go with the Helltown, the first one.
You cheating SOB. That was my pick, was the Helltown
I'm
Lawful
right,
Imperial. We're both the same pick.
I said it first.
No, yeah, because I gave you the floor. Jeez.
You could have picked something different.
But this is, I love IPAs. Dolly, crowd, explain to her my love for IPAs. You've watched me all season. Fine. You know what? I take it back. I didn't love that IPA. I loved my Cinderlands Arc and Drum Imperial Stout because 10%.
Once again, I'm right and he's wrong.
Yeah, because I'm being forced to pick something I don't think is correct, but that's fine. Anyways, actually, I do like the Cinderlands. Cinderlands is a great brewery, by the way. But anytime you can make an Imperial Stout that's 10% and it's just drinks so smoothly and I enjoy it, I'm gonna love it. Well, Dale, this is a fun conversation. Thanks as always for being on Sports on Tap. Thanks for watching here on DKPittsburghSports.com. We'll be back here at Mike's Beer Bar. Don't forget, next Thursday, March 19th, 6:30 p.m., just $30. You'll get 5 beers along with paired with 5 great courses and an awesome meal. Get your tickets here at Mike's Beer Bar.